Welcome everyone to City Council Business Meeting for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. Can you hear me? Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
President Rossetti.
Present.
That's all 7 here.
Okay, we have the approval of the minutes. Councilman Scaringi.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand and ask for unanimous approval of the minutes from the October 10th, 2021 business meeting and the October 25th, 2021 special business meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So next, we need to announce a public hearing regarding the FY47 Cdbg budget for our next business meeting, and we will have the clerk read.
Okay, so we're going to set a public hearing. Binghamton City Council and the mayor will hold a public hearing regarding permanent ordinance 21-60, which is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit the FY47 annual action plan and accept any and all funds allocated by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development from the Cdbg, ESG, and home entitlement programs. This public hearing will take place during the next regular City Council business meeting at 6 p.m. on November 17th, 2021 in City Hall and virtually via Zoom. Residents wishing to submit comments may do so electronically by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.com or virtually via Zoom during the meeting. For any questions, please contact the clerk's office.
Thank you. Let's move on to public comment. Zoom participants are welcome to speak. You will have 5 minutes to speak to discuss city issues. And I ask you to please be respectful. Mr. Clerk, could you let everybody know how they can participate?
Okay, so those wishing to speak via Zoom, please raise your hand and leave it raised, and we will allow you to speak one by one. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to address City Council on city issues and should state their full name and if they live or work in the city of Binghamton. The first person with their hand up is Tariq Abdullahson.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. One, I just want to congratulate those who ran for office and both those who were able to win and lose. It is not an easy endeavor. It's taxing. It is challenging to families and loved ones. And particularly in this divisive climate, it leaves one subject to some pretty harsh and unfair criticism. Certainly want to congratulate Joe Burns for running a very clean campaign with a lot of integrity. I do congratulate the mayor-elect, Jared Cram. I hope that he is true to his word about leading, bringing new leadership to City Hall, and that creates a more inclusive, collaborative, and transparent environment that uplifts service with integrity and excellence. And I certainly would remain a resource to him and others, particularly as it relates to housing issues. And I hope I have that chance to work with him. I do want to, I'm speaking in my personal capacity, but I am also a board member of the Broome County Land Bank. I applaud the city's commitment to the land bank, and I'm certain that the board and the staff will make excellent use of those funds to address some housing needs in the city. So thank you. The remainder of my comments now are exclusively personal and in my personal capacity as a city resident and taxpayer. Two things. One, we still have a mayor who broke his promise and engaged in some very secretive and opaque real estate transactions while he was sitting in office that raised some serious conflict of interest concerns, both at the front end and the back end of that transaction. For a couple years, I have been requesting the council take up legislation, very simple, good government reform legislation that would apply the same approach the county uses across the courtyard and regarding annual reporting on financial transparencies and ethics. It's basically a no-cost measure, and it just makes me wonder, particularly in the face of these new discoveries about our real estate mayor, that the refusal for council to even consider this raises obviously questions about what some of you have to hide. The turnout in Binghamton has been dropping every year for elections, and part of that is disillusionment, disenfranchisement, a lack of trust. And this is one simple measure that expresses and demonstrates your commitment to integrity and ethics in government. And it just is mind-boggling that there is still no interest from the council to pursue that. I strongly request and encourage that this be brought up and made a discussion point at the next council work session. The legislative proposals are still there. They exist. Leighton can certainly pull it up. So I hope you give that renewed consideration, and I hope it's bipartisan. Secondly, I don't know if it would made it into the final budget, but there was a request to borrow or bond for another 2 million or 2.5 million for the stadium, the baseball stadium. I just ask the council please provide, or at least have the administration provide in a transparent manner, what exactly are you asking taxpayers to fund? It just doesn't make sense when there's been over $6 million of public monies committed to this luxury, this asset in our community, and yet there's really no description as to what that money is being committed to. So out of respect of taxpayers who are footing this bill, can you please, someone disclose exactly what the plan is for these funds and why they're needed in the wake of already millions that the public has invested? Secondly, there's also many different, I think, suggestions in which we can secure some community benefits, particularly
You have 1 minute.
youth, for Binghamton families. If we are making another multi-million-dollar investment, we should certainly get something in return other than maybe a new mascot in 2 years. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Next, we have Marissa Robinson. We'll let them speak now.
My name is, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Marissa Robinson. I live in the city of Binghamton. So after watching Monday's meeting, after Rich David just straight up disrespected the only Black woman on city council, and it's no surprise that Sophia Resinetti and Chuck tried to cover that up for Rich David. But it's no surprise, Sophia, because you're the living, breathing definition of white supremacy and hypocrisy. You have multiple complaints filed against you when you worked at BU. I heard about your time as BU. Multiple complaints filed against you for targeting Black and Latino students. Rich David is as corrupt as they come. You're corporate, Rich David, you're like the scum of my shoe. I don't know if you're watching this or not, but I hope you are. You're like the bottom of the scum of my shoe. You should have been removed from office back in 2016 when your girlfriend hit another woman over the head with a bottle. And then you called, and then after that, you called her job up to try and get her to stop from filing a police complaint. And then surprisingly, the charges got dropped. I wish I could be there in person right now. I wish this could be in person so I could look you guys in your eyes and just say this is disgusting. The more that I dig into local government, local politics, it's disgusting and it's disturbing. You guys are the definition and the epitome of snakes. That's what you are, snakes. This is disturbing, but you know what? Snakes get their heads chopped off. That's what they do. I'm watching as a citizen. I'm watching as a regular citizen, and I'm watching this with disgust. Like, I'm disgusted. Just, you owe Angela Riley an apology. Like, straight up. You straight up just need to apologize, because the blatant disrespect over and over again by the only Black woman on city council. You straight up disrespect her, disregard her. She makes it so us regular citizens can know what's going on, how you guys are moving, what you guys are doing. Like, I can't you guys make my skin itch just watching these meetings. That's pretty much all that I have to say. That's all I have to say. Time's done.
Next up, we have Vincent. We'll allow them to speak now.
Thank you. My name is Vincent Arlequin, and I live on the west side of Binghamton. I am 16 years old, and I attend Seton Catholic Central High School. Today, I'd like to talk to you about youth involvement in politics and government. I have followed the last few elections, and I have learned quite a bit about politics through those experiences. I think that young people should understand a little bit about how the political system works. I think that a possible solution to this problem could be more community engagement. Council members could come to school for a day and talk to the students about what they should do in the community. Council members could also talk about what the city has done and what they will do to benefit young people, an example being the proposed community center at Sherry Lindsay Park in the south side of Binghamton. The city could also have some events where people can come and meet their council member and discuss what they want to happen in the community. Another solution is to increase the city's social media footprint. Young people use social media regularly, and they will pay attention to social media more than a memo. The city could invest some time in making the local government seem interesting to young people. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Thank you for representing us in City Hall, and have a great rest of your day.
Next up, we have Tina Cronopoulos. We'll allow them to speak now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Let me see what I'm trying to do here. Give me just 1 second. Okay, my name is Tina Cronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue in Sophia Resinitis district. There are a couple of things that I want to talk about tonight. Very quickly, the budget for next year. Obviously, I wasn't able to attend last week's hearing because I work at that time. Just wanted to say that I do find it rather disheartening that during the hearings, the chief basically admitted that no money has been allocated to implement any of the quote unquote suggestions / reform possibilities that were put together by the collaborative. And I also find it really disturbing that most of you didn't really ask any significant questions, and that the most interest that you had was for the golf course. So that really shows us where your priorities are. Another thing that I thought I might mention is that I'm actually really excited to hear Sophia Resiniti this evening address what happened on Monday evening's meeting, because Sophia Resiniti, in the past, whenever somebody has disrespected you, you have taken time out of official meetings to ask your colleagues what they think about how you've been disrespected. And then you've asked them one by one if they will support you. So I hope that the least you can do tonight is to ask your colleagues what they made of what happened on Monday evening, and to offer your sincere apology to your council colleague, Dr. Angela Riley, whom you have in the past disrespected in a manner that I can only read as racist. What happened on Monday evening when Mayor David basically talked on a hot mic and said that she doesn't know what she's talking about, that is an example not just of sexism, but misogyny, okay? Sexism, and specifically misogyny, is about controlling, policing, punishing, and exiling the bad women who challenge male dominance, okay? And you, Sophia Reseniti, a woman can also be misogynistic and sexist. It's not just men who can do this. You and your colleagues on council do this on a regular basis, both to Aviva Friedman and to Dr. Angela Riley, and I find it disgusting. Those two are the only people on council who ever ask significant and important questions in a way that actually also educates the public. So I'm really looking forward to you taking a stand tonight to uphold civility and all that is decent in this world. I'm really looking forward to what you've got to say. Speaking of all that is decent in the world, I thought I would let people know that one of my FOIL requests has finally been answered. And let me tell you this. A year ago in October, we had public comment for the budget for the city in 2021. And there were lots of folks in the community who were talking about how it would be important to not allocate so much money to the police. And in one of those meetings, Sophia Reseniti turned around and said, oh, well, I hear both sides of the story, but actually I've heard from lots and lots of people who have told me that they support the police. So I thought, okay, I'm going to check that out. I'm going to ask for Sophia Reseniti's email and government phone number to see who's been contacting her. Guess what? I found nothing. And then I thought, well, maybe folks are contacting her on Facebook Messenger on her or her personal email account. And so what happened is that I got a certification and that says here, after a diligent search, Councilwoman Reseniti certifies that she does not maintain any City of Binghamton business on her Facebook Messenger nor her personal email account. I thought, oh gosh, so she maintains a Facebook page as a council person and there's a messaging button, but I guess if I message her as a resident, that communication has nothing to do with her job. So when I went to a neighborhood meeting this summer, there was actually a person in the audience who said, oh gosh, I email you all the time and you respond immediately. So I foiled for this person's correspondence with my council representative on Facebook Messenger, and I finally received it today. So when you certified yourself as not maintaining any City of Binghamton business on your Facebook Messenger, were you lying? Are you a self-certified liar, Councilwoman Reseniti, in addition to throwing your female colleagues under the bus? Did you self-certify yourself as a liar?
Time is up. Thank you. Next, we have Bronwyn Lee. We'll allow them to speak now.
Hello, my name's Bronwyn. I live in Binghamton and first time caller. I came today because I saw a video of the council meeting recently on YouTube where Mayor David seems to talk really disrespectfully about Councilwoman Riley, not realizing that his microphone is on. And I was pretty offended seeing that. First, that he seemed comfortable to just talk over the top of a woman was pretty disrespectful. And then what he was saying about her, I thought was also pretty gross. And so I came today to say that I'm really disappointed to see that kind of attitude at a government meeting. And, you know, obviously that's the kind of thing that I guess is being said, but not usually caught on tape. So, I mean, in a way, I'm glad that we heard what he's really thinking, but that's really not what I want to see in our elected representatives. All right, thanks to the other councillors for what they are doing.
So if anyone else would like to speak, please click the raise hand button through Zoom and we'll let you speak.
Okay. There are no other hands raised. We can move on to our legislation for tonight. Would anyone like to pull anything from the preferred agenda before we proceed? Yes.
Madam President, point of information, I believe the clerk's office sent out earlier today, I think there was a letter that was submitted for public comment. I apologize.
Do we have that?
Yes, would any council members like to read that into the record?
Lee, is it easier for you if I read it into the record like I did last time? While you're maintaining any official minutes you have to?
Yes, that would be just fine. Thank you.
Okay, sure. My name is Noah Lennon. I am a resident of Binghamton, and I ask you to approve RL 21-230, authorizing the mayor to accept the Green Innovation Program grant money. Allowing the development of bioretention planters and street trees are not only helpful for carbon sequestration and beautification, they will also mitigate flooding and naturally filter the storm water that is currently polluting the Susquehanna and Shenango rivers. They can reduce the urban heat island effect, a phenomenon from which Binghamton is not immune. I hope that this project is just the beginning of Binghamton's green infrastructure initiatives, and that the city continues to seek funding to create green spaces, especially in unused areas such as abandoned buildings and parking lots. The amount of greenery in an area is positively related to property values, making it important for environmental justice that low-income areas be considered for the future of green infrastructure in the city. The continuation of this process is crucial for more of the city to experience the benefits of stormwater management, clean water and soil, environmental justice, and a beautiful landscape. Thank you, Noah Lennon.
Thank you. All right, then now we will move on to our registration for tonight. Would anyone like to pull anything from the preferred agenda before we move forward? Councilwoman Riley?
Thank you, Council President Rezanetti. So I would like to pull the following. Introductory Ordinance 21-123, Introductory Ordinance 21-127, Introductory Resolution 2190. Those are the three that I would like to pull from the preferred agenda. Thank you.
Last one, could you repeat that?
Introductory Resolution 2190.
Okay, so that was 123, 127. Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, please introduce the preferred agenda.
Okay, so the first item on tonight's preferred agenda is Introductory Ordinance 21-120. This is considered in finance, and it's an ordinance to amend the 2021 mayor budget to allocate American Rescue Plan Act funds for additional coronavirus expenses.
Any questions? Okay, next.
Next, we have Introductory Ordinance 21-121, considered in finance. This is an ordinance to amend the 2021 capital fund budget to close bond lines that are no longer active.
Any questions? Okay, next, please.
Next is Introductory Ordinance 21-122, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 capital fund budget to close the 2017 explosive detective K-9 grant lines.
Any questions? Next.
Next, we have Introductory Ordinance 21-124, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to allocate the American Rescue Plan Act funds for tourism, city marketing, and promotions over the next 3 years.
Any questions? Next.
Next is Introductory Ordinance 21-125, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 budget to fund demolition of blighted properties.
Any questions?
Next, we have introductory ordinance 21-126, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2021 DPW budget to create a new street maintainer supervisor position.
Any questions?
Next is introductory resolution 21-88, considered in the employees committee. And this is a resolution approving the collective bargaining agreement with the Civil Service Employees Association Incorporated for 2022 through 2024.
Any questions?
Next is introductory resolution 21-89, considered in planning. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into agreements with various small businesses for distribution of COVID-19 CARES Act funds.
Any questions?
Okay, and the last item on tonight's preferred agenda is introductory resolution 21-91, considered in the planning committee. And this is a resolution to accept $330,000 from the Environmental Facilities Corporation Green Infrastructure Grant Program.
Any questions?
Motion to accept the preferred agenda as amended, Madam President.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Resnetti.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay. So now we have some items that were moved to the non-preferred agenda. So we will start with introductory ordinance 21-123, considered in finance. Councilman Strawn.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam President. Ask council for unanimous consideration of introductory ordinance 21-123. An ordinance to amend the 2021 capital budget to allocate American Rescue Plan Act funds for water and sewer line improvements.
Second that, Madam President.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilwoman Riley?
Yes, thank you, Council President. My fellow council members, as you know, we have been charged with governing or monitoring the use of our ARPA funding. Now, mind you, sewer and water line replacements are very important to our city. And we talked about the shape of many of the pipes that have needed replacement for some time. If you can also remember, during that meeting, we were offered a plan that was done prior to many of our terms beginning here on council, so that we can see what we were advised in terms of prioritizing the revitalization, the replacement of these sewers and water lines. I just realized I still had not received it. And I think it's important that as council members, we understand what we are signing on to, and that we agree with the proposal and how it moves forward in terms of how it is implemented. So for that reason, I make a motion that we hold this over until we receive the requested information, so that we can be informed and also inform our constituents as to why we are submitting or supporting the allocation of this much money, ARPA funding, to the water and sewer line improvement project. Again, I agree that it is important, but again, without not having all of the information, I'm not doing my due diligence.
I'll second that motion to hold this legislation over.
Okay, thank you. We'll be holding that one over.
May I also make a comment, even though we have made a motion to hold it over?
Go ahead. Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Madam President. I know that something, again, other information that we have asked for and not yet received is a plan for what is the overall breakdown of the ARPA funds? Where are they? Where are we planning for them to go? We have a record of what we have spent so far, but it's difficult to make decisions on what we should or shouldn't allocate money toward when we don't have an idea about what's the overall picture here. And this is something that we said before. We keep receiving legislation piecemeal. And while we can agree or disagree with each individual allocation, I don't feel like, like Councilwoman Riley said, we can't fulfill our fiduciary responsibilities with that missing. So while I appreciate the map of, or the spreadsheet, whatever it is, of where the funding has gone so far, it's difficult for me, especially, and again, like Councilwoman Riley, I support some of these water sewer lines are dozens, or even some of them are almost 100 years old. So they have to be replaced. Water and sewer, as we've seen, particularly in a pandemic, are absolutely necessary amenities that constituents need to have. It's a health issue. But again, this is a large amount of money. And so, it would be so helpful to see what exactly this money is going toward before saying, yeah, here, have almost $3 million out of this, 46 million. So again, in summary, I would really love to see a comprehensive plan like other municipalities have done, so we know where we're going from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Introductory Ordinance 21-127, considering finance. Councilman Strong.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam President. I ask Council for unanimous consideration of Introductory Ordinance 21-127, an ordinance establishing the City of Binghamton Water Street Development Corporation.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Madam President. I think it comes as a surprise to no one that this legislation doesn't sit right with me. There's a few things that make me feel a little uneasy, shall we say. So I know that the establishment of a local development corporation does happen sometimes with large scale projects such as this. But I think that the wording of this is vague. First of all, I don't understand why in legislation we would have people by name, that the mayor's appointees by name, full stop, but also the mayor's appointees by name, but not the city council appointee. So that's a little bit weird. I would imagine that kind of specific information ought to come in bylaws or some other kind of supporting document. There's no information in here. I emailed and Chuck very quickly was able to answer my question. How long are the terms to sit on this board of this local development corporation? And now I have that information, but it's not listed here in this, in this legislation. It's in my email inbox, which is not accessible to constituents unless they FOIL for it, which, obviously they're welcome to do, but that's the kind of thing that ought to be included in here. How are the board members? Well, I guess they're all appointed, but again, it's strange to me that if we have them by name, do we need to amend the legislation every time the term is up and the board members change? Like, I don't know. And I also feel like this is being rushed through and I don't feel like it needs to be. I don't know why we're like so quick to establish an LDC for a gigantic project that I also have some reservations about. So with all that in mind, I'm going to make a motion to hold this over until we have Well, first of all, I don't think it needs to be rushed. I think that this is a big thing that we need to spend more time considering. And also, I would like to maybe have this amended or reworded in a way that seems more amenable, more sustainable. Maybe that's the right word. Amenable to be amended. I think this is a little bit weird, the way that it is now. So with all of that in mind, I'm going to make a motion to hold this over as well.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Over. Moving on to,
No, I have
I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman Riley.
No worries. So I would just like to add to what Councilwoman Friedman mentioned. If you guys can remember, it was not until Monday that we were even apprised of the composition, the members that were appointed, and that appointments had been made. And so if we're again turning over such a large project to a process and a team of people that we just learned about. And remember, those of you that are not on council don't know this, but we received almost 4 iterations of documents, and I'm still confused as to who's been appointed and who has not. Not to mention the fact that the council representative would need to be appointed, and is there a timeline? When is this supposed to happen? And if you can also remember, I think I asked about the specifics of this body and was told that it wouldn't be in the legislation, it wouldn't be in the charter, it would be in our rules of operation. So we need clarification because we want to make sure we are doing our due diligence. I also would like to see the verbiage changed a little bit, because if we have so many members that are appointed by the mayor, and we have 1 member appointed by the council, which is still the majority party, then essentially it will be a majority body. I think the minority party should have a member, and perhaps the majority party on council can have a member, so we reduce the number of members that are appointed by the mayor. So again, I would like to discuss this legislation as it is written, make sure it is equitable in terms of the voices around the table surrounding this apartment complex and this project as a whole. And I would like time for us to really walk through the process when new organizations, new committees, new subcommittees, what have you, are developed to lead and make decisions for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Moving on to Introductory Resolution 2190. Considered and finalized. Ms. Strong.
Thank you, Madam President. Ask Council for unanimous consideration of Introductory Resolution 21-90, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Broome County Land Bank for the Affordable Homes Program.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Madam President. Yay! I'm so excited. We're finally allocating a significant amount of money to housing, which is what my constituents and constituents all around the city have been saying is a extremely high priority need. I would like to make a suggestion, or I guess maybe I'll make a motion. I'm not exactly sure, but I'd like to suggest a amendment to this, just in the form of maybe a stipulation that a certain amount, like 10% of this money, is reserved for permanently affordable housing, like within the price range, I guess, of extremely low income or very low income families, because we don't want, while I'm thrilled to be allocating this amount of money, presuming that this legislation passes, I'm thrilled to be allocating this much money to housing. I just worry, thinking about the forces of housing and gentrification overall. I don't want the intention of this monetary allocation to be lost and just have, these homes go to people who maybe are buying their second home and then renting it out. I want to make sure that this money will actually go to the people who are in highest need of affordable housing. So I guess maybe I'll make a motion to amend the legislation to stipulate that 10% of this money goes to low income, very low income, or extremely low income affordable housing.
Second.
So I'm not sure if anybody else has thoughts about that. Thank you, Councilman Burns, for seconding that.
Wait.
Point of order at this point, there would be discussion on the
Yes,
amendment.
any discussion?
Right.
Yeah, my only question was, once we authorize the money to the land bank, do their rules governing the low income nature of how they govern that? Can we give, isn't there another step to this if we do that? Because they have their own rules governing how they do their program with the affordable housing. So that would be my question. I'm not opposed in conceptually to the motion, but I just wanted to throw that out there to see if there's anything else that we have to consider as far as that goes.
That is my understanding, Councilman. This is Maggie. I'd be happy to get more information on that, inform you guys tomorrow.
So we hold it over?
I'm sorry, who was that? Joe, was that you?
Sorry. Can we make a motion to hold it over then till we get the information?
There is a motion on the floor right now.
The amendment. Go ahead, Councilwoman Riley, you see your hand up.
Yes, thank you again. Again, I support what Councilwoman Friedman said, and I support the question raised by Phil Strawn. The thing is, though, when you are the funding agency, you can add stipulations as you see fit. And then the organization that receives said funds will make it fit into their overall process. So if we put it in there and they then look at what they're required to do, it's been done often, just like the money that came down from homes, just like the money that came down from Attorney General Letitia James. There were definitely specifications on how to use the money because it is being granted to an agency. So I just wanted to add that piece. I think, again, I'm very happy about what's being done. I've often supported the land bank, and I support what they do. And I like the fact that in these last few homes, they did require LMI renters, but many of those contracts had a term limit. So maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. But if we create, or if we support this verbiage, then we can ensure that long-term housing options are available for the population that needs said support. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anything to say? Okay. So roll call then?
Roll call. Yeah.
And sorry, point of information, just to clarify, we're voting on the proposed amendment. That's right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Councilman
sorry.
Scaringi, yes.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted a discussion on the amendment. So I think there's two issues here. I think in the broadest sense, Councilwoman Friedman, I think this is actually a very good idea. Number two, Councilwoman Riley, I agree with you that you are right that as we are the ones that are allocating these funds, then we obviously have a say-so in how they are allocated. The only issue here is, from my vantage point, twofold. Number one, as Councilman Strawn pointed out, the Broome County Land Bank is an autonomous entity, different and separate from us. And number two, this isn't unilateral, meaning that council, not that we can't make the suggestion, but I don't know if anyone can speak to, has there been a discussion regarding a proposal already? Because if a proposal has been made, and that doesn't mean that we can't still make this change, but this would require us to go back to the drawing board if a proposal has been made to build this in from the beginning. Because if a proposal has been at least rudimentary been made already, changing part of the allocation funding changes the budgetary aspect of the entire project. So I think the spirit of this is a really good idea. And I'm in agreement with Councilman Burns, Councilwoman Friedman. I'm going to respectfully request that you, if you're okay with it, of course, pull back the motion of the agenda on the amendment and that we make a motion to hold this over so we can get this information. Because again, I think it's a very good idea, but I just want to make sure that by us making a legal action to change the allocation funding doesn't throw off the broader project, considering that the broader project in its entire expansion 100% relates to affordable housing, which is also really important. So I think if we can iron that important point out, then we can get an amendment in there so it flows completely properly. And that's and that's trying to take everyone's good points that they would make. I think the best way to go, that would be my suggestion. And if you are okay with pulling that back now, I would have no problem myself making a motion to hold it over as in agreement with Councilman Burns, so we can get that information and then talk about that at our next meeting. And again, of course, court counsel, obviously they're the lawyers, obviously, if they want to weigh in at all. But.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Swearingen. Councilman Riley, did you have your hand up? No, okay.
I have a question.
Bill, and you're right here.
Yeah, while we're talking about it, I know Jessica gave us a very brief presentation on Monday. Does the I know that it was said at the press conference there, but is it does it need to be in the legislation, or is it just in the agreement that these properties will be within the city limits of Binghamton? I know it was stated that way, but is that I know that they can't get more specific than that because the properties themselves have not been identified yet, but I think that was part of the, obviously part of the proposal if it's for the city. I don't know if that needs to be in this or needs to be in in just a separate agreement.
Councilman Swearingen.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, so just as a little background, as Councilman Strong correctly pointed out, we actually got a presentation from Jessica Haas from the Broome County Land Bank at our last meeting. So we also, in addition to everything I said earlier, we also have an issue of past precedent, because this is a cooperative relationship and something that we've done year over year with the Broome County Land Bank. That doesn't mean that can't be altered or changed in any way. Absolutely, especially if it's for something for the betterment. But again, considering that there is a past precedent in terms of process, I think we want to make sure that any proposal that we in the collective think is a good idea doesn't broach that in any way.
Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. Again, all very good points. And I thank you all for adding, value to the conversation. However, if there's a proposal that's already in process, shouldn't we have it surrounding this money? You said if there's a proposal being discussed, we want to make sure that we're not altering anything that's already in process, right? So if that is being done, if conversations are being had, again, we should be a part of that process so that we are able to add, amend as necessary. I agree with Councilman Strawn. All the properties should be in the city of Binghamton, since city of Binghamton is funding it. It's nothing wrong with adding that type of language. Even though it's assumed, it's better to have it in writing. So if a proposal is being developed, let us know that. And if again, I'm supporting everyone with holding over so that we will have all the information and be able to make an informed decision. Yes, Jess did provide an overview. It was good. But again, if there are other pieces that are missing, we need to have it. And I see Ken, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to jump in procedurally then. Councilman Scaringi pointed out you'd have to withdraw the existing motion and then make a second motion to hold it over. So that you can answer some of these questions. In particular, I think the issue is going to be the word permanent.
So Councilwoman Friedman, would you like to rescind your motion?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. Do I just,
you state I withdraw the motion.
Okay, I withdraw the motion.
Thank you.
Madam President, in
Yes.
evidence of Councilwoman Friedman's withdrawal of the motion on her proposed amendment, I'll make a motion to hold over resolution R21-90.
Second.
Thank you. That's held over. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So I guess then at this point, we are going to move on into communication from council members. And tonight we have District 4 first, which is, am I right? Yes, District 4, Councilwoman Friedman.
That's me. Thank you, Madam President. Well, election night was interesting, shall we say. I think there were a lot of interesting races to watch. At least the the races in Binghamton, I think, everyone ran a good race. I'd like to congratulate Councilman Burns for running a positive race. And although I'm sure he's disappointed, I am happy to still have you on council. So there's a positive in that. And congratulations to Mayor-elect Jared Cram. I did also want to address the comments made at Monday's meeting. And I think that goes, in a way, I think it's tied into elections, and I'll tell you why. So at the meeting on Monday, what appeared to happen, my interpretation is that Mayor David said into a hot mic, not just that Councilwoman Riley didn't know what she was talking about, but the quote is, "I don't even think she knows what she's talking about." And that kind of hostile environment is why I think we see people, not the people, we don't see people always that we like clamoring to run for office, because it's, going into politics, I expected to have disagreements. Of course, we're going to have different opinions, different viewpoints, different strategies of how we think things should be done. But the atmosphere in which we work is so disheartening that it's hard to recommend this experience to anybody. And I think voters see that. We had a historically low turnout at the polls. And I think it's because people see what goes on at City Hall, and it's like, it's hard to feel inspired by the things that we do. I mean, I'm actually so happy that I suggested making that amendment to that last piece of legislation. And that discussion that we just had, where we, oh, I see your point. That's an interesting point. I'm glad you brought that up. Across party lines, we ask questions like, that's my fantasy of what I wish city council meetings were like. I get so excited when people ask questions and, bring up interesting points, maybe respectfully disagree and say, actually, Councilwoman Friedman, we can't do it this way because of this, but why don't we do it this way? That to me is the kind of government that not only is more effective, but it's inspiring to people. That's how you get people to come out and vote and support people, because they they see themselves represented, where they say, okay, if I was sitting in that seat, I'm confused. What kind of questions would I want to find out the answer to? And it's okay to disagree. That's fine. We all knew getting into politics, it's about disagreeing, but it's about working together as a team to find the solution that works for everybody. So, I think it's all connected, and it's, I think one of the callers said, we don't know what is said off camera or behind closed doors, but you can only imagine when there's a slip up like that, talking about a colleague. I don't even think she knows what she's talking about, belittling our competence as elected officials. That's what's disheartening. That's what makes people not care, or like get frustrated, or call in and yell at us because, like, what are we doing? So I hope moving forward, I do want to say I was extremely disappointed in hearing that comment. I'm glad we got it on tape, or else people wouldn't believe that it happened. And also I hope moving forward, we can have more meetings that are similar to the discussion on the piece of legislation that we just had. And also I hope everyone had a happy Halloween and had creative and cute costumes. And if you had kids, I hope you had fun going trick-or-treating with your kids. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Next up, we have Councilman Burns.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to congratulate Jared Cram on his election last night, and I'm looking forward to working in a bipartisan way and helping Binghamton and helping all of our residents. The opening of our meeting tonight, there's two of my children are glad that I lost. They tried to talk me out of running to begin with because they said that there's too much ugliness in politics. And they're right, of course. And but then I thought, well, I'm still going to be on city council, and I think Jared I think he will be a bipartisan mayor. So I'm feeling good going into the meeting tonight. Then it was brought up about the mayor saying that he's being caught on a hot mic, and he should apologize for what he said. And anybody who disrespects, if any of us disrespect one another by mistake or we should always apologize. Shouldn't be allowed in the city council meeting. But then I heard the speakers, and the children that were glad that I lost, they said, Dad, if you think, first of all, the hatred that was spewed at my family on Facebook and online, I've never seen anything like it. We had to spend our day erasing because of all the half truths that were told about us. But people were just so unbelievable evil. So, but then again, and they said the nightmare wouldn't end at the end of the election. It would just begin. So I took that to heart. So I got on here tonight thinking, okay, I can start anew. And then these speakers come on, and because Angela was insulted, they feel that they have the right to insult my other colleagues on here that, for just calling terrible names and making this meeting ugly, and it was unnecessary, and it makes me not want to be a part of it. And I wish that would change. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Burns. Next up, we have Councilman Strong.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to say that, I agree with one of the callers about the applaud all of the people running in the, win or lose. And Councilman Burns just alluded to do some things. It's definitely difficult at times. And I think a lot of good ideas were brought to the table. Specifically in the mayor's race, I do want to. I think that Mayor-elect Cram, like Councilman Burns said, will be a good mayor to work with. And And but I do want to compliment Councilman Burns for ramping up the discussion of something that we've been talking about, and I think we're still getting around to, and that is, these code issues and the idea of, we've talked about downtown, and I think we all, and the idea of getting some of these things out to the neighborhoods, and I think that was a very productive discussion points in several of the debates and some of the correspondence, and it did lead to conversations that I have had with people on the street and discussion of downtown versus the neighborhoods. And I think we have to establish that core downtown to improve, which I think we've done and are still doing. But I think that is a profitable conversation, that these trends and these investments need to move outward. And I think the conversations that at least I heard between Jared and Joe, I think that those were positive, and I hope that we are part of that. And I know we're working on some ways to do that with committees and things like that with Mr. Schleiter, and I know a new position was thrown out there as ideas of a way to prosecute these issues, but I just wanted to say that that's an issue that's near and dear to my heart, as well as we work in these neighborhoods to try to improve these neighborhoods. And I said, even at the press conference for this land bank grant, that I really think that, one house at a time really does improve, really has the ability to start improving these streets in these neighborhoods. And, if 12 houses is a good start, hopefully we can double that to 24 and just continue. And obviously rehabbing these houses is so much better than just tearing them down. So to get houses with code issues to not get to the point of disrepair into where they cannot be rehabbed, if we can stop some of that through this process and not get them to that point, then I think that's a good thing. So I just want to applaud some of those discussions that were happening that were very positive and uplifting, and hope that we as a group can continue to follow through on those things with us as a group and with Mayor-elect Cram. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Swan. Up, we have Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Mayor-elect Cram. I look forward to working with him, as we all should. He'll bring some new ideas, some fresh ideas to the city, and again, I look forward to working with him. A couple of callers earlier today during public comment. I'm never going to be okay with the personal insults on my fellow council people, regardless Democrat, Republican. I'm never, and the ugliness that people spew is, I know we're all elected officials and people say we should expect that, but there's no room for that as far as I'm concerned. And I would defend any of you, just ugly, nasty comments, and there's no room for them. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilman Scanlon, we are up with Councilman Scaringi.
Thank you, Madam President. Sorry about that. I want to thank the engineering department. They did an incredible job this week of responding to an issue that we had at a home in the 1st District regarding sidewalks. They were literally out there the next day taking care of it. I want to thank city engineer, Franco, Shannon, and everyone in the engineering department for really stepping up and making that a P1. Because it was a real potential pedestrian hazard. So I really want to thank them for that. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but in many areas throughout the city, there's still a lot of road work and concrete work that's being done, a lot of roads that are being coned off and things like that. So still great to see the neighborhood and infrastructure stuff going in, obviously, as we're getting to the cold weather. We had another neighborhood meeting for some residents in one particular neighborhood in the 1st District. So I know this is probably a non-exhaustive list, but I definitely want to thank BPD, fire, code, zoning, vacant property, the mayor's office, all the constituents that joined in on the call. It was actually very detailed, very, very explicit, and it was great to see that move forward. With that being said, thank you, Madam President.
Thank Thank you. And up we have Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. So let me start out by saying we did have a very engaged election season this time, and I want to congratulate everyone that ran, because those of us that ran remember how arduous a process it is. And the next day you just want to hide in some kind of cave and not come out again. So I celebrate everyone that ran a campaign this election season and congratulate Mayor-elect Jared. I look forward to seeing you implement some of the things you presented. And I will be here on council to walk with you through that. I want to shout out DPW and the Broome, I'm going to mess it up, but the traffic, we had a traffic survey in the North of Main area, particularly on North Street, which was well attended by residents and many of the traffic board members and many of the city employees. And we found so many things because that has become a major raceway, that ideas were put forth, a great proposal was shared, and they have started small projects like adding walk lanes to ensure the drivers are able to see the pedestrians and minimize any accidents and or deaths by automobile. I do want to talk about Monday because, again, this is not new. And I've heard, I'm the last speaker before Council President Rezanetti. And I, again, come on the camera, I stay on the camera, and we are all subjected to some hostility in this role. But when your elected leader gets on the microphone and demeans, it's a problem. And again, it's up to us to hold each other accountable. We remember the speech that was given on a working microphone about civility and asking that we are each other's keepers. And I remember that conversation very well. And yet, I think Tom Scanlon was the only one that talked about disrespect tonight. And so we need to think about that. We need to think about that and continue to hold each other accountable. Some things are not acceptable. It's hard to come and advocate for our constituents. We all know that. We all endure that. But again, when someone in leadership is on the mic doing it, that's a problem for me. So I just want to quote this thing from a George W. Bush, which you will never catch me. No, I'm just kidding. Civility is not a tactic or a sentiment. It is a determined choice of trust over cynicism, of community over chaos. When we see people coming on the mic hostile, when we see people coming on the mic frustrated, it's because of the behaviors and the action we have placed upon them. When we see people not turning out to polls, it's because they don't see any change. We sit here and we do our best, well, what we perceive as our best, but people want more. And do they know how to eloquently state their pain? No, maybe not to one's desire. But are people hurting? Are they upset? Yes. And am I glad they're upset? Yes. Because again, I didn't hear any of you say anything about what was said. Period. And we know whose voice it was. We know. So let me take that back. Tom Scanlon did mention hostility and mistreatment of any of us, regardless of party. And so again, even though Tom and I fight, we get along sometimes and we enjoy laughing about it. But the point is, we must do better. We must hold each other accountable and do better. which means holding our leaders accountable as well. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Riley. So, so lastly, I just wanted to say a couple things very quickly. First, I wanted to congratulate all of those who ran. As was already stated, it is exhausting. People put their hearts and souls into it, and everybody does it with the best intentions. Congratulations to Mayor-elect Jared Cram. I'm looking forward to working with you. And congratulations to Joe Burns for running a good campaign. And Councilman Burns, I had nothing but respect for you. You know that. And I appreciate everything that you said tonight. And I do look forward to working with you here on City Council. Another thing I wanted to say briefly is thank you to all of those who showed up at the Rise drive-by drop-off event that I had, that I hosted last Saturday. It was so, it was very successful. It was really overwhelming to me. I'm always just so touched by the response of the community and how folks step up. These were very much needed items that will be actually dropped off tomorrow to Rise. So thank you to all of those who participated. I too would like to see us moving forward, working in ways that feel more inclusive and more like we're getting things done as a unit. I want to feel like the conversations that we are having are meaningful, are for the betterment of the community. And I would absolutely love to see the personal attacks on every level go away. Personal attacks are just that, personal attacks that are meaningless and only seep into the work that we do and to the relationships that we so hard try to establish and the connections that we try to have with everyone, really everyone that we work with. So with that, I'll end and remind everybody that, well, I don't need to remind you that it's been cold out there, but there will be daylight savings is this upcoming weekend. So it's going to seem like winter is here. Everybody be safe and bundle up. Hope you have a great night. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Good night.
Meeting adjourned. Good night.